Hello, everybody. Welcome at this presentation where we are going to talk about profitability, efficiency, and sustainability all together. And to make it a bit interesting, all of that in small batch production. At previous presentations, we have been talking about how to select tools for small batch production, and we have been talking about how to select cutting conditions for small batch production, and we even have been discussing machining strategies when people have to do small batch machining. Uh, and today I want to bring all these three things together because those three relate to the machining process, one could say, but I'm going to bring it together and at the same time expand it to a broader range, because if you look to small batch production, which kind of it is already the standard today, one could say, and small batch production, puts a lot of challenges on production people, because it's about productivity and cost efficiency as it was before, and it's also about quality, of course, and sustainability came into the game, but the manner or the way we could arrange those things when we had mass production, that was based on big numbers, on scaling up things, and we are missing that in small batch production, and that means that we are confronted with a different type of challenge here. And today what I want to talk about is how can we find the sweet spot between efficiency, quality, sustainability, because those things kind of are a bit contradictory, perhaps I should say. It's like a washing machine. You can take the eco cyclus. That means it's going to take a long time, but it consumes less electricity. Or you can speed it up, have the fast cycle, the fast washing cycle. That goes fast. That is efficient, one could say, but that consumes a lot of energy, electricity. And in manufacturing, in production, in machining, we are confronted with the same thing, kind of. If you want speed, and sustainability, they are trade-offs to the selections you make. And this presentation, I can't present you the golden formula to calculate. It's not about bullet points. First do this, then that. It's about if I select a certain direction, if I select a certain priority, what are the trade-offs? How do I end up with the others then? And my name is Patrick de Vos. I'm close to 50 years in machining. And in those 50 years, I kind of developed my own way of looking at the machining process as a combination of some academic thinking and hands-on practical thinking. And a machining process, it's about balancing things. And a machining process is about how do I bring together in a certain environment, in a certain situation, the process variables. And process variables are the tools we use, the strategies, the methods we use, the people we have, the equipment we have, and how do we bring all those things together to achieve the best possible scenario. And as always, I'm not alone here. I have my two colleagues with me, Alesia and Margarita. They are helping to make this thing possible, and that we can talk to all of you wherever you are in the world in a live manner, and interact with each other. And the agenda of today is the first part. I want to present you two tools, one could say, if we want to balance the three things I have been mentioning. A second tool I want to hand over to you today is what is referred to as CPR or CPRR. I'm going to explain in the chapter what it is and how we can use it and what we can do with it. The second part is more the practical hands-on. Okay, I understand the meaning, I understand the target, how do I make it happen? And you see 2 chapters here are a little bit vague, because to be honest, today I don't really have the time to dive into details about how do I really make it a success, this way of thinking, and how do I make sure it's fully integrated in the company structure, in the company culture even. But for those things, I would like to point out that there is extra information, extra literature available, but I'm coming back to that later on in the presentation. But before we start, if you think on your own situation, if you think on your production, your workshop, your company, your engineering department, whatever, what do you think? And put it in the comment if you want. I'm really interested to see afterwards how you see these things. Where is your biggest constraint when you want to achieve the company targets, whatever the targets are? Leave that in the middle for the moment. If it is efficiency of sustainability, whatever your target, what do you consider your biggest constraint? And is that also the constraint you would fix first if you would have the opportunity? Or would you put your arrows somewhere else? And a bit the opposite, not what should you do or what do you want to do, but if you look to all the things that are happening in your company, what would you like to stop doing? What do you think? We do this, we do that, and why are we doing it? We should stop doing this. Interesting to sit down, relax, and think these 3 questions over for yourself. Now, why small batch? Small batch is something that is pushed mainly from the customer side. One could say people that want things, want unique things, special things, high quality things, and they want it fast and at a reasonable good price. Think on yourself privately. You want your own personalized car, red color, that type of tires, that engine, and whatever. A tuned car is what you want, but you want it fast, you don't want to wait a year, and you want a reasonable price. And if a supplier is capable of giving you that, as a customer, you are happy. So the benefits are obvious, but those benefits comes with, from the producer side, from those who have to deliver it, a big number of challenges. Things are frequently changing. There is variation. Customers change opinion. You have to modify. There is always a risk for instability if you change too many things at the same time, and so on. It's about insecurity, unpredictability, variability, or all the dirty words in production. That is what the producer is confronted with. And if you want to handle that, well, you need a different mindset. Small batch production starts with a different mindset. It's not about machinery, it's not about tools, it's about, in the first place, mindset. And we have to realize that speed is essential because, as I said, the customers want it fast. So productivity is essential, but profit for you as a producer is not really in speed, as it was in mass production, but it's in the repeatability, it's agility, fast reaction, quick response. There is the profit for you. So it's a different way of thinking in that respect. And if you look to waste, people talking about lean manufacturing, they know waste. And people always look for waste in I call it the process itself. But in small batch production, the biggest waste is to be found beyond the process. It's in idle times, it's in setup times, it's in bad quality, because those things hit in fast and heavy in small batch production. And from an economic perspective, and also that is a different mindset, the pricing strategies you use towards your customers, towards the market, um, they should reflect effort, time spending, and not quantity. Because in mass production, people were thinking the more workpieces I produce, I have to produce, the lower the price per workpiece will be. And people think, give me quantity, and I have profit. That was a type of commercial thinking. But in small batch production, that way of thinking about pricing, you have to do it differently. And in that respect, throughout the presentation here and there, I give you a practical tip. If pricing in small batch production should be done based on the order, not on the number of work pieces. I have an order of 5 pieces. I look to the order. How do I deliver this order? What does it involve? And if I take all those efforts, all those activities together, that should lead me to a fair price to produce that order. I'm going to come back later to that situation. Now, the challenge you are confronted with, there are 3 things. As I already said in the title, it's about efficiency, time efficiency, cost efficiency. It's about quality. It's about sustainability. Now, that is not really different from mass production, but the way we have to handle it, that's really different. In mass production, efficiency has to be found in the process. If it's machining or assembly or whatever manufacturing process, it's the process that defines efficiency in big number of parts to be produced. In small batch production, efficiency has to be found beyond the process. We have to look further than just the actual process. We have to look to all the other activities around the process because they are relatively seen, they have a much higher impact, importance on the total than in mass production. If you need 1 hour setup time and you need to produce 100,000 workpieces, well, the setup time is neglectable. If you need 1 hour setup time and you have to produce 1 workpiece and the time to produce 1 workpiece is 5 minutes, well, the 1 hour is the main factor then. So efficiency in small batch production, the process is simple. It functions or it doesn't function. It's binary. So the thing to achieve in small batch production is a functioning process. Let that be clear. I don't say that is not important. It must function. It must lead to the wanted result. But if you look for beyond that into real efficiency, you have to look beyond the working process. And that brings me to quality, because quality in small batch production is a very important thing. Again, if you talk about mass production, people talk quality-wise about the ppm, the parts per million. And they say, okay, if I destroy 5 workpieces per million workpieces, who cares? That's neglectable. Well, if you have to produce 1 workpiece only and you kill it, you destroy it, you have a big thing. Everything just doubles. The time you need to make it, the costs related to it, and so on and so forth. Everything doubles if you miss out on quality. So quality is very important. And the smaller the quality, the more you have, and now I go back to the process, the more you have to be sure that the process delivers first time, not after 5 tries, first time, what it needs to be delivered, a correctly finished workpiece. And sustainability, thirdly, sustainability is beyond everything. Sustainability is about make sure that you produce things today in such a way that the result of today is okay, but that you safeguard that also tomorrow you can deliver results. And that means you have to look into energy consumption, resource efficiency, the human factor, economical sustainability, environmental sustainability is more than just the green part, you know. I always say it's doing things in such a way that today leads to the wanted result, but I'm sure that also tomorrow, the day after, I can continue to deliver good results. And you know, those three things, it's not check boxes. It's not check, I have quality, check, I have sustainability, check, I have efficiency. You will see if you start to work with this that somehow they compete with each other. As I already said, think on a washing machine. You can go fast, the fast cycle, or you can use the economical cycle. And it's two different approaches to that gives you in the end, the wanted result. Clean laundry. That means if you have a situation like this that you can't reach all three, you will have to define for yourself a dominant goal. What is most important for you? And what are the consequences of your choice for the two others? And that means that, you know, sustainability, efficiency, quality in small batch production, it starts with management. Management needs to decide where they want to take the company. Management needs to decide what the Northern Star is for them. Is it quality? Is it sustainability or is it efficiency? You have to select one and you have to estimate how that one will affect the two others and what the consequences are for you. And now, imagine that you can pick two. That I'm gentle today, or one is perhaps a little bit too harsh. You can pick two. Which one do you take? Which one are for you personally? Put it in the comment again. I really would like to see your thinking here. Which two would you select? Which one would you drop? Now imagine that your customer has other priorities. Then what? Imagine that you say, I go for quality, and your customer says, quality? For me, it's efficiency. I need now. If it's a little bit less good, hopefully it's good enough. But what if you and your customer have different opinions on this? And by the way, talking about that, what is for you most important, to be busy or to be profitable? I hear that very often from salespeople. You know, they say, "Yeah, but it's going well with my customers. They are very busy." And then a couple of weeks later or months later, the customer goes bankrupt. And they say, "How is this possible? They were very busy and they go bankrupt." So what do you want? To be busy or to be profitable? Yeah, I know the choice is obvious what you want, but the question is then the way you are working today, and that brings me to the 4 pillars of success, as I call it. The way you are working today, is that in line with what you want? Or are you just being busy? 4 pillars of success: technology, production technology, process technology. In case of machining processes, machining technology, machining science, you have to master that. And in small batch production, you have to see technology also, that it has to deliver in a small batch production situation. That means that the emphasis of what the thing should determine in the technological side of it, the emphasis should be on versatility, reliability, predictability. Not necessarily wise on productivity or long tool life, or the classic things we know from mass production. Here it's more about being versatile, being reliable, being in the possibility to keep your promises. That is what technology has to deliver. Organization, production organization, it's a second very important thing. as I said a couple of minutes ago, this organization in small batch production, that's where your profit is, really. Or where you make your losses. Could also be. The organizational side, making sure that things are working well together, that things are where they need to be at the time they need to be there, that people are available and that people possess the knowledge they need to do whatever they need to do, and so on and so forth. That's what I call organization. And that is in small batch production where truly the real profits are. Technology is very simple. The process must deliver what is needed, a correctly finished workpiece. The organization around the process to make that possible, that is even so a key element. And management, production management, you know, the real key thing for me in management for small batches is about people. Managing people in such a way that people really truly can contribute to the targets in the company, and that people for that have the knowledge they need, possess the skills they need, have the mindset for doing that. Because you can have the most knowledgeable person, very skilled, but if his mindset is blocked because you as management do not allow him to use his knowledge and his skills to the profit of the company. Management in small production management in small batch production is about making sure people have the tools, the knowledge, the equipment, the skills, whatever they need to do what they need to do. And on top of it, you give them the opportunity to use all of that for the advantage of the company. That means that management in small batch production is more about letting go. Let people decide. And I know it's easier said than done, but anyway, it's a way of thinking, and it's about economics, of course. That's the fourth thing. How do you calculate your pricing? How do you define profits? How do you see things in an economic perspective? And again, the economic side for this, the skills you need is that you have to look through. You are very busy into, yes, but are we profitable in what we are doing? And that means that the economy of the site is about also selecting customers. It's about daring to say no to certain customers. It's about daring to say no to certain production people that want to make big investments. Because, you know, production people are technology lovers. They want the latest of the latest, but perhaps in your company, that is not what you need to achieve your targets. That's the economic side. And, you know, from a technological perspective, watch out for technology theater. As I said, technology people, technical people, they always want to show off and look what we have and a 7-axis machine. And it's all very nice. But in small batch production, that is perhaps not really what you need. And you should dare to use the CPR tool I already mentioned, and I'm going to come back to. Making investments, of course, but make sure you make the correct investments. You know, an investment of a couple of hundred of euro in a tool cart or something can give you much more return on investment than a 300,000 new machine tool. I don't know. I'm just giving an example. If you look around in your workshop, if you walk around in your workshop and you see machines standing still, well, I can assure you that in 7 out of 10, the machines are standing still, not because there is a machining problem, but because there is something in the organization failing. The operator is waiting for something, or the operator is not there, or the operator is out on a safari to try to find something in the workshop. Machines standing still, and I know it's workshop by workshop different. I have been doing so many projects in this respect, but in average, it's not always technology. Let me put it that way. It's very often also organization. if you talk about management, if I talk to people and I ask, your people, how are your machining people? Oh, I have good people. Yeah, of course you have good people. Otherwise, you wouldn't have employed those people, I guess. But go beyond good. Define good. What are the skills of people? What are the exact knowledge they have? Uh, and yeah, do they have specialized knowledge? Do they have general knowledge? How is the mixture of things? And next to that, communicate with your people on a daily, weekly, Monday, whatever basis, not only on the results, we produce so many work pieces and so on and so forth, but also on this. In our workshop, it seems we lack some knowledge about this or that process or whatever, who feels to learn about, and knowledge, everybody says it. It's so important, but very seldom I see people working with it. And I somewhere mentioned also the economy. If you dive into profit figures, you know a lot of profit figures, but do you know the profit per customer? Do you know the profit per order? Because it could be that there are some customers that perhaps it's better for your overall results that you let them go. Because I remember when I was still active, before I retired, that there is kind of, there are always customers never giving problems and where you make nice money together. And then there are other customers where you always have issues. It's always too long, too short, too hot, too cold. But in the end, if you look to the results, you don't even earn money with those customers. So, and I know it's a tough decision, taking the phone and calling a customer and saying, "Dear Mr. Customer, from a company objective perspective, it's better that we stop our relation." That's a tough message. But on the other hand, that tough message could lead to new opportunities also. It's part of the game in small batch production. And this brings me to the first tool. It's a very simple tool. It's a matrix with your three priorities: efficiency as well, time or cost efficiency, however you want to define it, quality and sustainability, the three priorities. And in the vertical, you find, I call it the domains of expertise you need: production technology, production organization, production management, and company economics. And this must help you to focus, to first of all, what are your priority? What out of efficiency, quality, sustainability do you put number one? And what do you think are the domains of expertise you need to achieve that? And the third question, most important, do you possess that domain of expertise to achieve your target? If you put quality first, what you absolutely need, especially in small batch, is that you fully understand the physics of a machining process. So it's very clearly production technology. And then the question is, do you have people in your organization who possess that knowledge? And if yes, upgrade them because they are key to your company. If no, you have to hurry up to find them. So this matrix can be used in all kinds of things. I have been using this so often when I had talks or discussions with people. I want this, I want that. And then I say, okay, nice. This is what you want. This is what you need. Not want. And I put the domains of expertise, and then I ask them, okay, tell me what you have and what you don't have. And let's see where the gaps are, where there is room for improvement, and let's see where your strong points are and make sure you exploit your strong points maximum. The second tool, as I said, is that CPR. CPR stands for cost performance ratio, a very logical thing, but so much to my surprise, so little used. cost performance is a concept where we measure performance, results, efficiency, effectiveness, whatever, to the costs it takes to achieve it. So it's performance achieved, cost related to it. One could say CPR measures the output compared or per unit of cost. And performance, that's again a very open thing here. Performance, you decide what is performance. If you say my priority is quality, then performance is measured in quality terms. If you say efficiency, then it's about time and costs related to that. And if you have that and you want to or improve, or if you have that scenario and you want to compare with another scenario, well, then it's getting very interesting, because then you have your performance, the reference, or the improvement you want to achieve, and then you can dive into what would it take to achieve that, what would be the costs related to it. And then it becomes a mathematical exercise. Cost performance is performance achieved, and you define what the performance is, compared to the costs which are there to achieve the performance you want to achieve. An example hopefully will clarify, because when I'm listening to myself, I make it very complicated, I think. Imagine you have a tool and it costs €80 and you can produce 200 parts with it. And you have another tool that costs a little bit more, €100 or whatever coin unit, but you can produce 300 parts with it. Well, the first tool, you have 200 parts for €80. That means you produce 2.5 parts per euro you invest in it. And for the other tool, you have 300 parts, but the tool costs you €100. But anyway, you have 3 parts per euro invested. And then the conclusion is simple. In this case, cost-performance ratio thinking, the tool P stands for performance, is best choice for you. And everybody in production, and hopefully many people in purchasing, know this. It's price performance. I call it cost performance. However, that's a nice theory. The practice is that there is always a risk factor, because you can say, if I make this investment, the performance will become that. But the reality, and machining people know that, the practice is, what's the chance, what's the risk that you achieve the performance or that you miss out on it? And that brings us to what we call cost-performance ratio risk-adjusted, or cost-performance risk ratio. And to work with this, here you need economical people, management people, because it's about which performance do you want to reach, what are the costs that you need to, what's the money you need to spend to achieve that performance. But here you have to bring in technical people to ask them about their experience, their sense of reality, about if I want to achieve this and these are the means I use to achieve this, what are the risks involved in this? What is the chance I reach that? Because we can say nicely that you remember tool P there, 300 workpieces, very nice. But what's the risk you break the tool and that you don't reach the 300 workpieces? What's the risk that due to how the tool works, you have unpredictable downtimes to replace a broken tool, for instance? So there are risk factors. And those risk factors, you need an estimation based on scientific, practical thinking. And also here, if I write it in a formula, one could say CPRR is performance achieved or the performance you want to achieve, related to the costs which are incurred on that, and you take into account the risk factor. What's the chance I reach whatever I want to reach? Again, an example could help perhaps to clarify this. I have here my high performance tool again, costs 100, 300 workpieces, CPR is 3. The versatile tool is €80 only, but it can only produce 200 workpieces, so the CPR is 2.5. The theory kind of this says that we should go for tool A, or the high performance tool. However, high performance tooling shows a tendency to be a little bit fragile. You need very skilled people to work with it. The risk of instability during the process is imminent, and so on. And one could say at the high performance, there is a risk of 40%. Something unforeseen takes me or stops me from achieving what in theory I could achieve. While the more versatile tool, that risk is only 10%. Now, and I know the figures here are for the sake of the example. Every situation in your workshop, we need to decide what the figures are, and they will be different in wherever workshop you are, but just for the sake of the example here. So don't ask me why 40%, why 10%, it's just for the example. And that means if you take those two risk factors in the equation, that the CPRR, the risk-adjusted CPR, the first tool is 1.8 and the second tool is 2.25. So despite the theory saying that the high-performance tool in this example should be the best choice for you, the reality teaches us that the versatile tool is more of an appropriate tooling or tool selection for you. Estimating risk factors is a very important activity in any workshop. And to my experience, a lot too little done. Everybody says, theory, we go like this. Every operator will say, yeah, nice theory, but you know, and I agree. But put a figure so we can talk facts and not we suppose. It's too little done. That's what I give you as my conclusion with that CPRR. You find CPRs you find in all commercial leaflets and brochures and websites. This is cost, this is the performance, look how good the investment is, all very nice, but what are the risk factors? And those are truly important also. If you have to run small batch production, prioritization is important. Prioritization means you have to select what is most important. Efficiency, quality, sustainability. And once you made a selection there, 3 extra points when you talk about prioritization. Don't fix what's not the problem. I see people fixing things which are not really a problem. If you go for quality, and if your customers know that, and if customers are prepared to pay the correct price for quality, that productivity is a little bit lower is not a problem. So don't fix it. Yeah, but the technicians say it's not important. Don't fix what's not broken. Use facts, not opinions. As I said, with CPRR, the operators say, yeah, you know, that's an opinion. I want facts. And once you decided on a strategy, stick to the strategy. Because, you know, that very old saying from a Roman philosopher, he said, if you don't know to which harbor you want to go, no wind is good for sailing. And I always have to think on that when I see how people sometimes in reality, they go from A to B and they are all over the place, and stick to the strategy you selected. Wrong or good, but stick to it. Perseverance is an important word. Discipline is another domain which is very important. Discipline, you can't do everything. So once you have your targets, once you have your priorities, uh, yeah, have the discipline to stay with that. You can't do everything. Stay the course, as I already said. Have the discipline to follow the road you decided you want to go. And have discipline also in selecting customers. Because the average commercial people, they think the more customers, the better. Yeah, if you have infinite production capacity, of course, the more customers, the better. But your production capacity is not infinite. It's limited. Spend it wisely. Choose your customers wisely in that respect also. And I think I must have asked it hundreds of times when I was doing improvement projects, but people seem not to have it, at least not formally, a customer decision matrix. Which are the customers I want or I do not want? Where do I say yes? Where do I say no? You know the joke here, you find it all over the place. If you talk with your customers, ask it, because I say you as a supplier, you as a producer, you have to select your Northern Star. And what if your customers see things differently? Well, to avoid that you have a conflict there, ask your customers. What do you want? Good, quality, cheap, fast, efficiency. And tell them you can select two. And see how you can come together then. You can't do everything at the same time. Prioritization, discipline are really essential if you want to have sustainable success. Sustainable, you remember, today, but also tomorrow, next week, next month. A fast track. Here I go fast because, as I said, yeah. Sometimes people ask me to do the impossible in 1 hour. Yeah, 1 hour is 1 hour. You know, I can't explain you how to develop a rocket that takes you to the moon in 1 hour. But anyway, very fast. The fast track. Know your priorities. I think I emphasized that enough. What is your Northern Star? Quality, and I don't say the others are not important, but you have to have one which is a bit more important than the others. Quality, efficiency, sustainability. Know your labor productivity. You know, when people start talking about economy, nearly instantly they end up in, oh, labor is very expensive. Now take that labor out. And then look to how the results are per employee, per time unit, in turnover or in profit. And once you know that, and to give you an example, in Western Europe, that is more or less, if you do this type of calculations, or the benchmark at least is around 100,000 euro per employee per year. And once you have that figure, then you can start discussing if your people are too expensive or not. It's a very different way as what most people take their company somewhere to a low labor country and they say, look what I'm doing, I'm going to save a lot of costs. Yeah, good luck. Reliable machining processes, I already said, focus on reliability, predictability, safety. It's not about that last second that is important. It's about a predictable result. Never go for 100% utilization of your machines. And I know accounting people, they will not like me saying this, but machines should have spare time. Time that they are there doing nothing, planned nothing. because that gives you spare capacity. If one of your key customers comes in and said, I'm a key customer, you are for me a key supplier, so now I need to do you something special for me. I need this urgently. But if all your machines are occupied, you can't help your customer. You need a planned spare capacity. How much it is case by case different. You should release orders only when there is free capacity. And that is to launching an order, making all the costs related to that, and then somewhere in the process it stops because there is no capacity, then you have been spending money for nothing. So only release an order when you see there is capacity. Think on the polka principles in the QRM production philosophy. I only release an order when I know it's going to be dealt with. Limit work in process. Work in process, some people use it to show, look how busy I am. All the work on the work floor. But as a matter of fact, it's not a good sign. Because work in process is the result of orders which has been released and there was no free capacity to treat them. There will always be some work in process, I know, but it should stay within limits, because otherwise it's a gigantic cost factor. If you think on lead time, think on lead time as the customer sees it. A customer says, okay, I call my supplier, I give him an order, and then the clock starts ticking. And the moment the parts arrive, that's when the clock stops ticking. That's for the customer, the lead time. It is nothing to do with the process time and the workshop. The customer doesn't care about those things. Start, stop, that's the time. Yeah, you should start thinking also like that if you talk about lead times. And remember that delays very often start in the management office, not in the workshop. The workshop in most cases is the party which is always blamed for it. But personally, I think that's unfair. Because delays starts piling up from the moment there is the initial contact with the customer. And hopefully in that initial contact, correct promises are made. Because otherwise, you completely start on the wrong foot. The estafette principle, The next runner can be world champion in whatever, but if the little stick drops when it's handed over, everything stops. Minimize idle times. As I already said, your profit is in the idle times, or your losses are in the idle times, however you want to call it. Problem solving time, setup time, manipulation time, tool manipulation, tool indexing, work manipulation, all of those times. That's where things are. Make sure you have the correct tools and you use them in the best possible way. And make sure there's no opposite, because if one party selects the most productive tool while the other party expects a versatile tool, there will be a conflict. CPRR is here the tool to use. The decision tool, I mean that. I want to let you enjoy this. Today the world champion or the best time ever in a pit stop in Formula 1 is 1.8 seconds to change some tires and stuff. Here you see a bit the older situation. So if you have to produce one workpiece or a limited number of workpieces, the time spent on what you see here on the screen, that's where the real profit. The race is won, one could say, here. And I stop here because this goes on for minutes and minutes. And today it's 1.8 seconds. Use visual aids, auditive aids, signals, so it's quickly recognizable what's going on, where an issue occurs, a machine standing still and so on, so people can react fast. Your people, And here I always, the moment I always talk about, having education training high up on the priority list, and always, management say, of course. And if I say that, okay, let's start, then I say, no, my people are too busy today because we have delays. Or my people are frustrated because they have so many problems going on. Or my people are too busy because we had to scrap 3 parts this morning. And then I think, yeah, that are all the reasons why you should invest in education and training, but you use them as excuses not to invest in training and education. Very strange situation. And your people, it's not only about being highly skilled, being specialized in something, but it's also about being flexible, being multidisciplined. For a long time ago, I had somebody calling me and said, I want a seminar on milling techniques for my turning people. And I thought, wait a second, is this hidden camera, candid camera or something? But I said, so you want a milling seminar for turning people? He said, yeah. He said, because in case of, I want that my milling people are, if needed, capable of running a turning machine, a lathe. And he said, the next course will be the reverse. And I thought, that's smart thinking. Wise investment. If you talk about KPIs, make sure you know the difference between leading and lagging. You can't count the managers who tell their people, don't work harder, work smarter. And of course people want to work smarter. But how? What do they need to do to be smarter? So as a manager, make sure if you talk with your people about KPIs, I want more work pieces by the end of the day. And of course, your people want to help you, but how? What do they need to do? That's where you need to help them in the first place with. That's the difference between leading and lagging KPIs. And as a manager, you should know very well the difference between the two. If you work with information, make sure it's correct and complete. I think in most manufacturing companies, there's a lot of gossip and supposing and a bit vague information. That's no good. Information should be correct and complete. And if you look to the economics, do pre and post calculations. What was decided before, then you did it, then you calculate what really happened and how close or how far away are the two from each other. And important, why? So that next time you can do in your pre-calculation a bit better. And these are a number of the things you could do that lead to and perhaps you noticed I didn't spend one single line on you should buy, because that's in the list of the classic mistakes. Classic mistakes, if you want to improve, is no plan, no priorities, no objectives, no Northern Star. It starts with that. Spending too much money first. We buy this, we buy new machines, we buy a robot. Don't do that. That comes later, perhaps. Expecting fast results without doing anything. It doesn't work like that. You first work and the reward comes after the work. Too fast hiring people or consultants. You know, you in the first place, and you can be an operator and you can be a manager, and I don't care. You need first to know your company and your targets and your priorities. And only when you have that, and when you identified for yourself the gaps you have in the domains of expertise, you remember production technology, organization, and so on, only then you could consider that to fill the gaps that you look for new people or external people to help you with that. Not evaluating different scenarios. CPR is a crucial thing. If I invest this, nice, what would it give me? What's the risk factor is very important. Copying others with no thinking. I saw that happen so often. I saw that happen with high-speed machining. I saw that happen with lean manufacturing. I saw that happen with all kinds of things. And if I ask people, yeah, why do you do this? They say, yeah, I don't know. The neighbor does it, so I think it's good, huh? I should do it also. You are not your neighbor. You are different. You go your way to success. Not being passionate about, yeah, the neighbor does it, so I do it also. That leads to nothing. You have to be passionate about it. Trying to do it on your own, on an island, that's perhaps a little bit contradictory to point 4, but it's not. I mean, once you decided what you want, what the gaps are that you see in your organization to reach that, yeah, then you have to reach out for help. And you shouldn't be ashamed to ask for help. And thinking that busy is the same as productive or profitable, it's not. And the last one is not starting today. Now we are close to holidays, I do it next week, next month. Yeah, then you never do it. Start today. Full integration, I show you just one slide here because, yeah, I see the time is running, the clock is ticking, and yeah, the time for questions is very short. People look for digitalization to make sure that all this thinking is fully integrated in a company, and perhaps it is, I don't know. But here also, again, I point to the literature which is available. Basic conclusions in small batch production, success is about alignment. It's not about speed. It's not about size. People say, big company, I'm small. Nothing to do with that. It has to do with alignment, with focus, with clarity. It's about technology, it's about organization, it's about management, and it's about economics. That are the 4 domains of expertise you need to have in a company. And those 4 together in a certain recipe will help you to fulfill whatever target you have, whatever combination of quality, sustainability, and efficiency, so you can have a happy customer base. But above all, focus. You can't do everything. Focus. Do less, but do it better. And yeah, that's a standard one. But I add to that, and for the right customers, which is part of the game. There's quite a lot of literature available on these things. Just send us a message, put it in the comments, send me an email, send an email to my 2 colleagues. These things are available where you find a lot more details about these things, because again, an hour is only an hour. And it could form a basis to that we continue to discuss and see what is possible for you. Are there questions? Let me see. Yep. Yeah, I see the time is yeah. Just one question. All other questions I answer later on in comments, or yeah, we can continue to communicate over email or phone or whatever. Just one question. It's a very interesting one. What is the biggest hidden cost in small batch machining? I have been asked that question so often. You talk about costs, hidden costs, losses, and so on. Where do you find the biggest possibilities to reduce hidden costs? And over time, based on things I learned in a workshop, you know, the biggest hidden cost for me is I call it the safari cost. Operators, engineers running around in the company trying to find something which they know it's there, but they don't find it. And that can be a tool, that can be an insert, that can be an NC program, that can be a measuring tool. Every hour, somebody is spending in a company trying to find something is an hour lost. And there's so much money spent, and there is no income against it. Let me stick to that. The other questions, as I said, because time is going fast, we handle later on. I have one question for you. In the presentation, I made one statement which is a bit strange. And you know, I talked about literature which is available. Well, you can have that literature easy if you could tell me which statement in the presentation you think is a bit strange. It's really strange, you know. It really looks like the guy behind me. And why do you think it's strange? Why do you think it's irrational? That's my question to invite you to think over again this hour we have been talking together. That brings me to the end. In Europe, at least, the holiday period starts now. So this was the last presentation before the holidays. On behalf of my two colleagues, because I know both of them has high ambitions for during the holiday spending, and myself, I wish you nice holidays if it's for you the case. And in September we have a new one, a live event, and then we are going to talk about what I call sometimes, and think now in what we talked about today: efficiency, quality, sustainability, and combine that with ships. Well, ships are silent saboteurs. They don't say anything, but in the way they behave, they can sabotage whatever objective you have in the workshop, in a company. That's going to be the subject in September. It was nice being together with you, talking to you. Again, if you have questions, if you already had questions in the comments, if you have, you can put the questions there. You can send them also via email to me or my two colleagues, and somehow we make sure you have the answers you are looking for. A copy of this presentation, of course, is also available for you. Also there, let us know if you want to have a copy. We make sure that before the holidays you have your own copy, so during the holidays you have some interesting literature for while you are lying on the beach or something. It was nice talking to you, and see you back.